SummerSlam is almost here, and the main event is John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. The rematch is currently slated to main event night 2 and will be a street fight. And once it happens, John Cena is only going to have a few more scheduled dates left on his retirement tour. Which begs the question, after SummerSlam, what is the rest of Cena's retirement tour going to look like? Let's speculate. I'm Brandon, this is Wrestling Talk, and the number I can't get out of my head right now is 4. Why? Because after SummerSlam, WWE only has 4 scheduled PLEs for the rest of the year. And given how John Cena has basically only wrestled on PLEs throughout the retirement tour, it stands to reason that after SummerSlam, we are only going to get 4 more John Cena matches. Ever. So with that being said, let's predict those 4 matches and in turn, the rest of John Cena's retirement tour after SummerSlam. And yes, I do know that he wrestled R-Truth on an episode of SmackDown leading up to Night of Champions, but I think that was done entirely as a way to build up hype for Punk versus Cena. It was basically one giant callback, because years ago when Punk delivered the Pipe Bomb promo, it was after R-Truth versus John Cena on an episode of Monday Night Raw. This year, before John Cena delivered his own version of the Pipe Bomb, it was after another R-Truth versus John Cena match. So in my opinion, just because he wrestled R-Truth on an episode of SmackDown doesn't indicate to me that Cena is going to wrestle on any other episode of TV between now and December. I think after SummerSlam, there are 4 matches left for John Cena. Clash in Paris, Crown Jewel Perth, Survivor Series War Games, and Saturday night's main event in Boston, Massachusetts. Now again, one other disclaimer is currently WWE does not have any PLE scheduled for the month of September. I could absolutely see them adding something to that month, like Fastlane or Payback or some B-level PLE, but given how most of John Cena's dates have already been scheduled, my thinking is even if they do add something for September, John Cena won't be there. But with all that being said, let's try to predict the rest of John Cena's farewell tour after SummerSlam. But in order to do that, we have to predict the finish of SummerSlam. And to me, it breaks down like this. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes round 2 at SummerSlam is going to be the conclusion of their story that started at WrestleMania. After this match, I do not see WWE running back Cody versus Cena again. However it finishes, it's going to be the end of their story. That being said, after WrestleMania, the only possible way this story could end in a satisfying way is for Cody to get his win back over Cena. Because Cody Rhodes is the John Cena of this generation. He is the biggest babyface WWE has, and if you ever want Cody Rhodes to be looked at in the same light as John Cena down the line, he needs to get at least 1 win over him. It doesn't necessarily read well in the history books if Cody Rhodes always lost to John Cena and never got a win over him. So because of that simple fact alone, I think it basically confirms that Cody Rhodes is winning. So I think whether Cody goes full Homelander or just doesn't hesitate and then beats Cena with the belt, I think Cody is walking out of SummerSlam with the WWE Championship. And once that happens, just like what happened with Roman Reigns when he lost the WWE title at WrestleMania 40, the crowd is going to instantly turn John Cena babyface. The crowd has already basically cheered John Cena this entire farewell tour, only rarely booing him. So once he loses the title, I think from that moment on, Cena is going to be a babyface for the rest of the year. But if WWE really wants to put a stamp on it, there are a few methods they could do at SummerSlam to really solidify this Cena face turn. One way is pretty easy, and that is once Cody beats Cena, Seth Rollins rushes to the ring after the match to cash in on Cody, proving to everyone that his injury was indeed a work, and then right before he cashes in, John Cena lays out Seth Rollins and then gives the nod to Cody. That would absolutely solidify Cena as a babyface even more, but in all honesty, I think Seth Rollins' injury is legit, so I don't think this is going to happen. Another option is the final boss shows up, The Rock. Do I think The Rock is going to wrestle a match anytime within the next year? No. But do I think the TKO shareholders are going to want The Rock at the first ever 2-night SummerSlam, one of their biggest events? Yes. I think if Triple H and TKO want to make the first ever 2-night SummerSlam a big deal, then either during or directly after Cody versus Cena, I would have the final boss return and just start laying into Cody with that weight belt, and then John Cena can have his own Darth Vader and Return of the Jedi moment, where he starts off conflicted and then realizes he needs to do the right thing, and that that is delivering one last attitude adjustment to The Rock, and then handing the title to Cody and raising his hand in front of the entire arena. I think this would be great because it would finally put a button on that very lame and, let's be honest, very underdeveloped story of The Rock taking Cody's soul, as well as finally giving a definitive end to the iconic Rock versus Cena story, which dates back to WrestleMania 27. When John Cena's retirement tour is all said and done, I don't want the last moment him and Rock ever shared a ring together to be at Elimination Chamber, because while that's a dope shot, it didn't lead to anything. I think SummerSlam is the perfect opportunity to correct the mistakes of The Rock at Elimination Chamber. Don't have Travis Scott there either, just have it be between John Cena, Cody, and The Rock. Again, long story short, I think Cena has to lose to Cody at SummerSlam, and once he does, he's going to be a babyface. So now, moving on into the rest of the retirement tour, I think we're dealing with pretty much a babyface Cena. However, he might not be entirely a babyface just yet. He might still have a bit of an edge to him. So because of that, he might need someone from his past to get a good match out of him, just so we can finally see Cena becoming the babyface again in the ring. So when it comes to Clash in Paris, I think the match to make is John Cena versus AJ Styles one last time. When it comes to the nostalgia one last time matches, I think this is the last one WWE has to do for John Cena. We've done Randy Orton, CM Punk. We can't do Edge because he's in AEW. We can't do Rey Mysterio because he's injured. We can't do The Rock because he's The Rock. And we can't do Brock Lesnar because, you know. So in terms of who's left on the main roster, AJ Styles is that last nostalgia match, and the two of them had some bangers back in the day. Honestly, other than CM Punk, I think Cena's best wrestling matches were with AJ Styles. And at this point in the year, coming off of SummerSlam, both guys aren't going to be doing much. AJ Styles is likely going to face Dom Mysterio at SummerSlam for the IC title. I don't think he's going to win. There was a report months ago that WWE wasn't planning to do Cena versus AJ this year, but as we get into the back half of the year, it feels like you have to do it. Especially in Paris, that crowd is going to lose their minds for this match. Obviously, I know Paris is not the same place as France, where Backlash was a couple years ago, but when you look at the crowd for Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles at Backlash France, they were going absolutely nuts for AJ Styles. It was one of the most insane crowds I've ever seen. Maybe the most insane crowd I've ever seen. And looking at John Cena's scheduled appearances between SummerSlam and Clash in Paris, one of the stops is in Lyon, France. So once AJ either wins or loses to Dom Mysterio at SummerSlam, I think he can go over to SmackDown for a little bit and tell this story with John Cena, where John Cena is basically a babyface, but maybe he still has a bit of an edge to him and he hasn't fully accepted the fact that the crowd is on his side and they don't want him to ruin wrestling. And I think through one match at Clash in Paris, AJ Styles can beat the rest of that darkness out of John Cena, and the two of them can put on an absolute banger. Seriously, that match at that event with that crowd is going to be crazy. I just hope that WWE actually does it, because if they don't, I think that is always going to be a massive what if for the Cena retirement tour. Why didn't we get Cena versus AJ Styles one last time? And in terms of who wins that match, again, it really doesn't matter, but I think having John Cena win is probably the smarter thing to do. And once he gets that win over AJ Styles, the two of them can shake hands and then they can move on to do whatever they have to do for the rest of the year. And for Cena, that next stop is Crown Jewel Perth. There are a lot of heels that you can have John Cena face, but the one that I think is most likely is probably going to piss some people off. And that is John Cena versus Logan Paul. Now, back at the beginning of the year, when we were fantasy booking all of the possible matches Cena could have in 2025, Logan Paul was on most people's lists. And that was because it was just one of many. Hey, we know Cena's going to be wrestling at all of these PLEs. Let's do Cena versus Logan Paul at one of them. As we get into the last half of the retirement tour, though, where, let's be honest, there are probably only 4 more matches left for John Cena, the idea of one of those matches being against Logan Paul now feels like a massive waste. However, from a business standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world. Both of them are huge names. And also, in the storyline that I'm currently telling right now, post SummerSlam, Cena is going to need to get some big wins under his belt so that when he goes into his final match ever, he has some momentum behind him. Because after he loses to Cody, I think Cena needs to win, and then we get to Saturday night's main event where we don't know if he's gonna win. So after beating a beloved AJ Styles, I think beating a super hated Logan Paul is actually a good thing, and that is going to build up his momentum even more leading into the next PLE. So even though I'm not in love with the idea, I can't help but look at the match and go, it makes sense from a business standpoint, from a story standpoint. I like it. Now we move on to Survivor Series War Games. Now, you could absolutely just do Cena one-on-one versus whoever here, but I think the thing to do is to put John Cena in a War Games match, because of the simple fact that John Cena has never been in a War Games match before. So before his career is all said and done, I think that's what WWE is going to do, and I actually think it makes a lot of story sense. Because leading into this year's men's War Games match, I think it's very obvious. It's going to be Team Seth versus Team Roman. Now, when it comes to Team Roman, obviously it's going to be Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, CM Punk, and Sami Zayn. They've already been setting up on Raw that Roman and Jey are cool now, and that Roman and Punk are fine. But then you throw in Sami Zayn, who always has Jey Uso's back, plus the fact that Sami and Jey have been in every War Games match since it's been on the main roster. I think they're going to want to keep that streak going, so those four are going to be on the good side. Looking at the heel side, obviously you're going to get Braun Breaker, obviously you're going to get Bronson Reed. I do not think you're going to get Seth Rollins because, again, I think his injury is legit, so they're just going to need to recruit 3 other heels. One of them I think is definitely going to be Drew McIntyre. I can absolutely see another one of them being Karrion Kross. And then for that 5th spot, they could get someone like a Logan Paul, or sometime before Survivor Series, Paul Heyman can officially announce a new member of their faction. Whether it's Ethan Page or Ricky Saints, whoever that is, I think that is going to be your heel team. And then I think the babyface team going into War Games are going to be struggling as to who their 5th man is going to be. Roman, Punk, Jey, and Sami go into War Games not knowing who their 5th member is going to be. But before the match, CM Punk reassures everyone that he made a call and he thinks his guy's gonna show. And once all 9 guys are finally in the match and it's looking like the babyface team is gonna lose, we hear the trumpets. And then John Cena rushes to the ring and aligns himself with Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Jey Uso, and Sami Zayn. It would be so awesome to see John Cena a part of an Avengers Assemble type moment one last time. Seeing John Cena team up with CM Punk again, I think it would be fantastic, because then that kind of gives Punk and Cena a bit of a trilogy throughout this year. They faced off at Elimination Chamber as friends, then they faced off at Night of Champions as foes, and then they finally teamed up again in War Games. I think it would be a great feel-good moment. To me, it's the most exciting thing to do with Cena at War Games. But then after that, we move on to Saturday night's main event, where John Cena will have his final wrestling match with all the commercials. And his retirement speech, if he has one, will probably be cut off. So to me, there are 3 possible opponents to end John Cena's career. I don't think it's going to be anyone that he's already faced this year. So no Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, R-Truth, AJ Styles. It needs to be someone from either the current or next generation of wrestling. One of those options is Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is poised to be the next big thing, the next face of the company. So if you want to have a true passing of the torch moment, this is the match that makes the most sense. The only reason I think this might not happen is because Braun Breaker is currently involved in the entire Paul Heyman story with Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed. WWE might already have plans for Braun Breaker set in stone, and those plans might not involve Cena. Option 2 is the one who is currently rumored to be Cena's final match, and that is Gunther. Gunther already retired Goldberg. I could see WWE wanting him to be the one to retire Cena as well. And let's face it, Triple H loves Gunther. Like, loves the dude. There's a reason why he always gives him the belt like every chance he can. To me, this match was super exciting to think about back in January when Gunther was the World Heavyweight Champion, Cena was a babyface fighting from underneath. To do this match at the end of the year, I wouldn't hate it, but I wouldn't love it either. I don't think they're promo battles would be exciting at all. I think it would just be Cena going after Gunther, and Gunther probably wouldn't have much to say. In terms of the actual match, I think it would be pretty good, but unlike Cena versus Braun, it wouldn't feel like a passing of the torch. It would just feel like Cena lost to the better man, and that's it. Which is why my number one pick to be John Cena's final wrestling opponent ever is Drew McIntyre. This is the agenda. If this match doesn't happen at Clash in Paris or Crown Jewel or Survivor Series, it has to happen at Saturday night's main event. When you look at the character work that Drew McIntyre does, he's so much further along than Gunther. He's well developed, he's complex, he's funny. The promo battles he would have with Cena would be absolute fire. He can absolutely go in the ring. I think Drew McIntyre being the one to end John Cena's WWE career would be amazing. It would do so much for Drew McIntyre, and you know he would take that momentum and use it to propel him to the next step. If Drew McIntyre beat John Cena, he would never shut up about it. He would be bringing it up on every episode of Raw and SmackDown for the next decade. If you're asking me what I think is going to happen, I think the reports are probably true and that it's going to be Cena versus Gunther at Saturday night's main event. But if you're asking me what I want to happen, I think it should be Drew McIntyre versus John Cena. But that's it. That's how I see the rest of John Cena's farewell tour going between SummerSlam and Saturday night's main event. What do you think? Comment below, let me know, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.